Hello?
Hey, YouTube. Not all of you people who are watching us on YouTube. YouTube, the company. If you need help fixing your broke servers,
And your ads.
you can't pay me enough.
Seriously, YouTube, what the corona?
We started the stream. We're like doing our thing. Lisa's explaining the video.
I'm like halfway into a demo already.
I look down and I see people are like, is YouTube being weird? And I'm like, wait.
Weird how?
Like, stop, Lisa. She's like, what? Anyway.
Dude, I was seriously halfway through the demo. I already told you all the pencils that I used and everything. Now we have to do it all over again. So, hello and welcome again for us. First time for you. This is, we figured this out. So we had a dress rehearsal. This is day 12 of survival coloring. This took us like 2 minutes to figure out on the first run. Tech support is here with us, helping me make sure that the stream is actually connected because I can't rely on YouTube. So
Shameful.
Shameful.
You guys got like $1 bajillion. You have more money than small countries.
That's true. That is true. Well, they're going to shut us down.
Yeah, right.
So like,
well, if you don't appreciate it, watch
this.
Goodbye.
All right, well, we're running now. So we'll jump straight into coloring because we lost a little bit of time.
No, we won't. We're gonna start. Come on.
Yeah?
Yeah, you're gonna explain your thing, right?
Okay, so yes.
Well, hang on.
Still a family chat.
Explain to them that I am coughing and that we're still trying to figure out what I'm allergic to.
We're still trying to figure out what he's allergic to.
Thank you for explaining that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. That was very informative, wasn't it?
Yes.
Well, we don't know what he's allergic to, but we do know what we're working on. And we're working on the Little Light of Hope page. And last night after the show, I stayed up a little bit late and did some more coloring and recorded my process for you guys. I posted the progress shot in my Facebook group, so you guys already saw how far I got. But I also made the recording and sped it up, and now I want to show it to you. So the only new colors that I added after the show ended were light green and jade green to the sleeves. And everything else that I used were the same colors that I've already introduced to you in the show yesterday, and the same colors that we'll continue using and building up to complete this coloring. So for my red, I'm using a permanent red from Prismacolor. For my purple, I'm using a dark purple from Prismacolor. And for my dark brown, I'm using mainly mud from the Black Widow set, but also a little bit of cinnamon from the Black Widow set. And I'm also using this amazing new chartreuse color that I found from the Lyra set. That's the bright yellow color. And I'm using it for most of my little yellow highlights on this piece. So the main thing that I did, other than introducing the green to the sleeves, was continuing to build up the darkness of this piece. And it's still not even nearly close to how dark we have to get for the light effect to truly be as dramatic as we want it to be. So we're going to keep layering and layering and layering to demonstrate how effective that technique really is. I mean, certainly you could start from the dark color right away and just paint the background black with a little gradient around the lamp. But once you pick up on this technique of just adding a darker color on top of a darker color on top of another color and just building up that gradient from your paper color to the darkest tone, your final darkest tone, you will see all the little things that are happening in that one color. It's almost like if you zoom in onto a photograph or even a painting, you can see all the little pixels that are slightly different colors. It's never one solid color. So that's what we're going for. We're going for things that the human eye can't really perceive, but that are there. Every color is composed of a million little pixels that are all slightly different in color variation. So when you create layers on a coloring, you achieve that effect naturally without having to go pixel by pixel, which is why I like it so much. And also, you are in control. You can constantly adjust how dark certain areas are and how light certain areas are, and you can change the color, the direction that that you're taking your colors as well. For me, I tend to go towards purple a lot. So I have a chance to take it into a slightly different direction as I'm building up colors instead of, picking one solid color and then being like, oh, well, this looks like a mistake. Maybe I should have used a different color. This kind of a technique spares you from having to make those decisions. Like, oh, what color should I make the background? It's not about color. It's about light and dark, especially with glow effects. So it was really important for us to establish the light and shadows in the beginning. Remember when I did the whole tan paper versus white paper, and we established just the shadows and left just the lights white? That was the single most important step in the coloring of this type. Once we have the light and shadow established, everything else literally doesn't matter in terms of color. And today we'll demonstrate it by coloring the rest of our lanterns in different colors to show you that light effects work the same way regardless of the color that you pick. So, the other thing that I wanted to tell you guys, that's a nice trick for building up your red tones. Since we're dealing with objects in the dark, well, nearly in the dark, a lot of the questions that I get in terms of colors is, well, how do I make red or green or blue or any color look like it's in shadow, look like it's dark? Do I add black? Do I add blue? Like, what kind of a color do I add for red? And in something like this, that's a soft yellow light. We're going to have some red lights as well, but really warm tones in our light, like natural candle glow, fire glow, this kind of a lantern glow that's very soft and warm. Your shadows won't really have a lot of blue in them, but they will have a lot of purple. So for me, I like to build up my red with a deep purple. And that would be this deep purple right here, my very favorite Prismacolor pencil that is actually called Deep Purple. That's PC 931. But it doesn't have to be this exact pencil. Any kind of a deep purple, dark purple will work just as well.
You know I can't let that go.
What? Deep purple?
Dun, 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 dun. Okay.
My friend George used to call that the duck song.
Smoke on the water, fire in the sky.
It's the duck song because it turns everyone into ducks. Automatically. So yes, deep purple is the way to go if you want your red to look more rich, more saturated, but also appear to be in the shadow. Deep purple is the secret weapon. And I'm adding this deep purple to everything. Like, that's my main shadow color here. But I don't want it to be too saturated and too purple, so I'm diluting this deep purple with my dark brown. And for that, I'm using dark sepia or mud. And in the very end, I will also be adding black, but I like to add black over all the layers that I've already established. That way it really shows the depth and the darkness that we're trying to achieve. So without further ado, let's start coloring the next lantern. I will show you guys how to make the red ones today. And then on this side, we'll try a whole bunch of different other colors. There you go. I speak good again. So for the red,
At least you can speak.
for the red, so these are paper lanterns and they're a little bit see-through, but not a lot. So we have to imagine that there is a light source in the middle. In this case, it's electrical, so we have an actual little light bulb in the middle. And the light bulb will shine through the paper, but not completely through. It will just appear as a little glow in the center. And the light of the bulb itself is orange or yellow. So we will see a little bit of that yellow-orange glow in the center. And of course, the paper lanterns themselves as well have a little bit of yellow to them because of the natural color of the paper before they were dyed red. So all these things you have to consider. And also remember that they're not very bright lights. Like, these aren't like Christmas lights. The whole beauty of paper lanterns is that they're kind of delicate and they barely cast any light at all. Like, you can comfortably look at a paper lantern and it doesn't hurt your eyes. And are you able to speak? Is that a no?
I have my microphone muted in case I suddenly start coughing or I need to clear my throat because nobody wants to hear that. What you want from me, woman?
Okay. I wanted to know if there's anything happening in the chat that I need to address. If they have any questions about the flick that we just showed, or any of the colors that I'm using, or any other questions at all.
Nope.
Nope? Okay, you may go back to being unmuted. Or muted. I get confused.
Oh, wait. Diane wants to know if the color that you're using on the lanterns is the crimson red.
Yes, correct, it is. I tend to pick a whole bunch of colors ahead of time and just have them laying here next to me and not have to go looking for other shades of a certain color while I'm working. So I've already picked out a whole bunch of colors. I may use some of them, I may not use some of them, but this is my main red that I selected. And once again, I can't stress this enough, you guys. Like, my channel is never about matching colors. Like, if you don't have a permanent red, it absolutely doesn't matter. First of all, there are like 3 other red colors in the Prismacolor set that are nearly identical. And depending on how much pressure you apply to the page, depending on the exact type of paper that you're using, or the ink in your printer even that you use to print this page, all of these things will come together to create an effect that's very specifically yours. So you can use every single exact pencil that I use and your coloring will come out completely different. So try to chase the effect, not the tool. As long as you have a red that's like a bright red, like a lipstick red, go with that. It doesn't matter what brand it is. I will keep announcing my colors just for science and for reference and so that it's on record which colors I'm using. But please don't think that you need to have that exact pencil for this to work. Any kind of red will work. The important part is to apply more red to the edges and to make it fully saturated, never with pressure though, always with more pigment. And less to the center. We're trying to make this round, glowing gradient with the center remaining white and the edges being brighter. And I'm also going over these parallel horizontal lines that are the ribs of the lantern, making them red as well. And now I'm taking, I've been working with this ridiculous, outrageous neon orange that I suddenly really like. I think for this, it's perfect because we're dealing with lanterns that are glowing and that are festive and perfectly red and have this orange glow in the center. So this kind of a neon color is actually kind of perfect. I can't imagine where else I would use something like this. Certainly not in any realistic coloring, but for something like this, it's perfect. But what am I going to say? It doesn't have to be a neon orange pencil. It can be absolutely any shade of orange. You can make it brighter by adding a bright yellow over it. That's always a good trick to have up your sleeve. And actually, you don't even need to use orange. You can go straight from red to yellow, and that will naturally create an orange color as the gradient. So experiment, see what works. Print out a whole bunch of these and try to color every lantern with a slightly different technique and see which one comes out better, which one you find to be more interesting and more fun, which pencils you like to work with. For instance, I know the pencils whose texture I prefer over others. Like, even in the same set, every pencil is a little bit different. Like, even though they're all from the same brand, everyone has its own personality. Some are a little bit harder, some are a little bit softer. Like, you know your pencils after you work with them long enough. And now I just add yellow, and I tend to go from brighter colors to lighter colors for my gradients, just because it's easier for me that way, because I can see how the gradient is forming. But certainly working from the center out will also work if you prefer to try it that way. I find going from the edges to the center to be the stronger effect. And there you go, a red lantern. Let's make another one, and then we'll move on to this part over here to try out different colors. And same exact thing, I will start with the border applying full saturation and gently creating this gradient to the center where the actual light bulb is hiding in the middle. Oh, and I wanted to address a question that I just received. I saw that Terry Johnson posted a question for my previous video on YouTube, and I saw it right before the show, so I didn't have time to actually type a response. But I did like and heart the comment, so I didn't want to appear rude that I read it, liked it, but didn't actually respond to it. Terry's question was, Lisa, have you ever considered publishing your books on tan-toned paper so that we can practice coloring your art that way? And it is a wonderful idea. I would love to do something like that. If I had freedom in choosing my own paper, I would print all sorts of things. I would make pop-up books, and I would print on thick paper and watercolor paper and different toned papers to practice different effects and partially colored pages. Like, I would probably publish a book that's like a step-by-step how-to color book with specific instructions that are already done in full color. Unfortunately, I don't get a say over the paper quality or even the paper type with the publishers that I'm working with right now. Right now, I self-publish my books with KDP. That's Amazon's Kindle division of self-publishing. And that whole section of the publishing world wasn't designed for coloring books. The coloring books weren't even a thing when they came to be. So, I mean, coloring books were for kids, but not for adults. And it's only the adults who are this picky about paper because we're making art, we're not just doodling. But anyway, the Amazon self-publishing service doesn't allow you to pick different paper types. I think your only choices are white or cream, and cream is just a little bit eggshelly. It's not actually like toned like this. Nor do we get to pick the quality. Like, we don't pick the tooth or the thickness of the paper. It's just paper, and it's been a topic of discussion for several years among artists, and we've written letters to Amazon trying to get them to notice our community and be like, yo, it's art that we're printing. It's art that people are interacting with. Like, the paper is important. Like, don't just print it on the cheapest paper possible. But we have not had any success yet. So we'll keep trying. And actually, it hasn't occurred to me in a while, but having read that question earlier tonight, like 15 minutes ago, having read that question just now, it occurred to me that I should probably reach out to an actual publishing house and see if I can publish with someone else, because I haven't tried that since my very first book, when I didn't have a name or a YouTube channel or a reputation as someone who actually has a presence in the coloring community. And when I was no one, I was rejected by publishing houses, and I haven't tried since. But now that I have a YouTube channel and I'm an influencer or a memer, maybe
we're not allowed to say influencer.
That's right. It's not cool anymore.
That's right. They take away our influencer badge.
That's right. It's like, you can be an influencer, you just can't say it. So yeah, maybe, thank you, Terry. Like, perhaps this is my reminder to try to actually publish with someone reputable again. It would certainly be cool.
KDP's reputable. What are you talking about?
KDP is reputable, yeah, I suppose.
Okay.
I meant like Penguin publishers.
Paying attention, Penguin? This is your opportunity.
Yeah, KDP is totally reputable. It's just that, they're designed more for like audiobooks and stuff.
Can you publish your coloring books as audiobooks?
I'm trying to imagine what that would be like.
It's like the sound of coloring?
Or they could be instructions. It could be like it could be like voice instructions on which color to pick, and like having them imagine the picture.
Or it could be the sound of the color that you're using, like a train or wind.
I've always tried to imagine other things as colors when I was a kid. I used to hear things in color. I still do, not as strongly as I did as a kid, because grown-ups taught me out of it. I was trying to communicate with people in very strange ways when I was a child, and basically the grown-ups in control told me that I should cut it out before I get put away into some institution where people go to disappear. Because I would like walk up to people and I'm like, "Do you hear that color?" And they're like, "We don't know what you're talking about, crazy person." But yes, and the other thing that I was trying to do was to perceive color by touch. So I would like run my fingers over objects with my eyes closed. And I'm like, why can't I tell what color it is? Maybe I need to concentrate more. And it just never worked. I always felt like I was missing a whole bunch of sensations that I'm supposed to have, and I don't. And that's actually one of the main reasons that I ended up drawing as much as I did as a child, was trying to look for a way to communicate with people, like to try to explain what I see and what I feel. What's happening in the chat? I hear you typing loudly.
We are discussing, so Diane very sweetly offered she tossed out there, can any of the purchasers do anything to help? Can we sway Amazon in any direction to use better paper? Oh. And I said, Amazon doesn't care.
They don't care. We tried. We did.
Yeah, I said that anything that raises their production costs will raise the price of the book beyond what people will pay.
Yeah, they genuinely don't care. And it's a business. It's not that they don't care because they're an evil corporation. It's numbers. Unfortunately, the coloring community, while it is large, it's not large enough to matter to a beast like Amazon. So,
very large beast.
Very, very large beast.
7
All right.
heads and 7 horns and 7 tails. On the 7th day.
The 7th day of Amazon publishing. Okay, so those came out pretty cool, right? I will take another yellow now. I'm looking for something that's not as lemon yellow as this, and not as orange as this right here. So I'm looking for like an egg yolk yellow, and this is what I found. This is called Sunburst Yellow, and it's BC 917. But again, any other yellow will work just fine. And if it's too lemony, add a little bit of orange to balance it out. If it's too orange, apply it lightly and then add some more yellow to it. So I'm going to use this, I already forgot what it's called, Sunburst Yellow, around my lanterns as the glow. Yes, thank you for that offer to help change Amazon. That's very sweet.
Can we tell them about the thing that we discovered during dinner?
Yes, please. We discovered a very cool thing.
All of y'all probably know about this because you're way more hip than we are.
Yes, and you probably watch a lot more YouTube than we do.
Yeah, we're only allowed to watch YouTube during dinner.
That's right, allowed by ourselves.
Yes, because during the day there's work to be done, as much as I don't want to do it. Anyway, John Krasinski, who you may know as Jim from The Office. He's also now like a action hero
he's
star
like
guy. He's
a
done
super
really well for his
action
film
guy.
career. He's married to Emily Blunt, if you know who she is. Anyway, he decided to start a YouTube channel called Some Good News, SGN, in which he posted to his enormous Twitter following, tell me about good things that are happening in your world. And people inundated him with beautiful stories of positive stuff and wonderfulness. And he decided to create a YouTube channel that showcases these items.
And it's wonderful.
It's wonderful.
It's adorable.
It's hilarious. It's produced as amateurly as you can imagine. It's just him at his desk.
It's just like this.
With a picture or like a logo that his daughter drew on the wall behind him. He's wearing like a suit and maybe not wearing pants. Anyway, it's really funny and
really positive.
It's super positive. So he already has 1.5 million subscribers, but if you would like to be one of the ones, the opopportunity is there.
Yes. We definitely want him to keep doing the show. We saw day one.
We saw day one, which was a week ago.
Yeah.
It's just totally good. So we put a link to it in the description of the video here, but you can also just go Google for Some Good News, and it'll pop up Some Good News, John Krasinski.
Yes, it's adorable. And it's so honest. It's just him in his house being cool and being like, you know what, there's a lot of really depressing news out there. Let's do something positive. And true, like actual true stories, not just making stuff up.
Yeah, one of the stories he had tonight, no, not tonight, but on the night that we watched, was a teenage girl who finished her last chemotherapy treatment, and she was coming home, and this was like a week ago, or a weekend, I guess the show was a week ago, so 2 weeks ago, and all of her friends and neighbors still maintained social distance, but they lined her street, and they were like hanging out of their cars, and they had balloons, and there was a whole welcome home parade for this girl as a celebration of finishing.
And she had no idea she was properly surprised.
She had no idea. Mom just turned the corner, and there's hundreds of people cheering her for being who she is.
It was so touching.
Stories like that.
Yeah. And then all the people who were saying thank you to the medical professionals all over the world. It was like the lights on their balconies and the honking and the clapping. And people just doing it from their home because they do appreciate all the work that all the medics around the world are doing. It's just that we don't really have a way of showing it because everyone's separated.
You can show it by staying home.
Yeah, definitely. You can show it by staying home. Well, on that note, I promised that I would tell them about my adventure yesterday because yesterday I did not stay home. I actually ventured out into the wild in my coronavirus outfit. And a bunch of you saw a picture that I posted on Instagram of me looking like an emo teenager in a car, texting on my phone, trying to pretend that I'm not there. And you're like, well, where are you going? Why did you leave the house? You never leave the house. Certainly you didn't actually have to go anywhere. And I apparently have to explain myself now. We still have some projects that we're doing on the property, although not on the main house. But since we had to change the roof, some of you may know that we've done some extensive work on the house recently and had to put it on hold.
It was a small project. What are you talking about? It was small.
Just one house, just this house rebuilt entirely. Since the entire roof had to be redone.
The project right now.
We're sitting in it.
The roof wasn't my fault.
The roof was totally your fault.
The roof was not my fault.
Oh, come on. Accidentally, the entire roof had to be redone.
I accidentally had to replace the roof. I'm telling you, it's not my fault.
Previously,
I'm not my fault for Adrian Goins.
Previously,
I made another small project.
On the roof, they keep getting bigger and bigger. Previously, the roof used to house a solar array. Correct, thank you. And I'm using light green now. The roof had the solar array on it. We had 16 panels that were just sitting on the roof, minding their own business, collecting sunshine.
But not doing a very good job of it.
But not doing a very good job of it, yes, correct. Solar collecting is actually quite difficult and a lot more complicated than people realize. You think you can get a solar panel, stick it on your roof, and ta-da, free electricity forever. Well, no, it doesn't actually work like that at all. You have to do a lot of math. You have to have perfect angles.
Your math will be wrong. And then there's these things called clouds.
Oh, yeah,
And there's this other thing called fog.
Oh, my God. And terrain.
Yeah,
Trees.
hill.
Wow, yeah. So you need a battery bay and you need a way to store the energy that you're collecting because here's the trick. You need power during the day, but it takes all day to collect it. So the problem with solar is that you spend all day collecting power, then you get the power by evening time when you don't really need it that much anymore because you're about to go to bed. And then by morning, all the power is gone and you have to start collecting it again. So that's the kind of math that you have to do. And the kind of extra stuff that you have to be able to store the energy that you're collecting. But short story long, the panels got temporarily moved off the roof. The roof got redone. And now we decided, we who can't make small projects, decided that we might as well get a bunch more new panels and make a bigger array and put it out in the middle of the field where they collect more sun and where they collect the morning sun, whose energy we can use right away.
Can I add some qualifications to this math?
Yes.
What I did not know when I built the original array, when I sized the original array, I sized it large enough for our consumption and I sized it to fill the batteries to 100% during the day. But But what I did not know is that we really want the batteries to get to 100% when there's still a minimum of 4.5 hours of sunlight available. And they go through a period where they hit 100% and then they go into a state called absorption, where over time the voltage remains the same, but the amperage drops as the resistance grows, as you put more power into them. This is battery mumbo jumbo. So I need 4.5 hours. And we discovered that we were getting to 100% at like 2 in the afternoon or 3 or 4, and we weren't getting that final top off. And over days of not getting that final top off, the amount that the batteries can hold actually gets lower and lower. And during winter, we were having problems where in the morning, we'd basically be out of power. So for that reason, we need more sun in the morning and we need more sun in winter. And so we had to move the panels away from the house because we've got this big dumb hill.
It's a beautiful hill, but it does cover like everything.
Yeah. So continue your story.
So anyway, as the panels are being built, I switched to light aqua, by the way. This is like a turquoise blue. And I'm using it to define the ridges on these green lamps. And also to add, just like we did here with the darker around the edge, I'm adding this slightly darker color around the edges and leaving it a little bit lighter in the center. These are the same colors that I used over here on the sleeves. So anyway, we needed to get...
Since you're paused. Nancy wants to know, why does white charcoal not go over color, but color goes over the white charcoal?
Oh, it's chemistry. It's just what the material is made of. It's white charcoal only goes on paper. It doesn't go on anything else. There's probably like an actual explanation in the chemical formula of white charcoal, but I don't know it. So just take it for what it is. It's like you can't put watercolor paint on metal. It just won't stay. It's the same thing. You can't put white charcoal on pencils. It just won't stick. But it does stick to paper. And it does stick to other paints. If you have an acrylic painting or watercolor painting, you can use white charcoal beautifully over that surface once it's dry. Just not colored pencils. So anyway, I had to go to town with our workers to get some supplies yesterday to make sure that they get all the correct stuff because they tend not to do that. So my trip was very simple. I was just in the car with our main worker dude. I had my mask on. I had my hand sanitizer in my pocket. And I didn't really go out anywhere. I pretty much stayed in the car. And when we got to the stores, I made sure that the purchase was correct. I paid, got back in the car, and we went home. So I didn't lick any strangers. I didn't lick any tigers. I didn't lick any light bulbs on lanterns. No licking happened. I was very well behaved. But I do have some cool stories for you guys. I haven't left the house in 4 weeks now. So I didn't actually know what to expect from our town place and what life outside of our farm actually looks like. First of all, we have road checkpoints now. I didn't actually see any army dudes or anyone with authority at all. We hit several checkpoints where there's medical personnel checking or at least people who are wearing lab coats and have masks. They might be like traffic controllers on regular days. I don't actually know. But they were dressed like medical professionals. And they had thermometers and gloves and masks. And they stop every car and they check your temperature. And if you pass, they let you drive further where your car gets sprayed with bleach. And then you're allowed to proceed. So those are interesting because they use the laser thermometers to just point at your head and see if you pass. And I actually failed one of the checkpoints because the car that I was in had no AC and it got really hot and we were totally boiling in there. Our afternoons are still very hot even though we're going into fall. So we were completely cooking and sweating and overheating and we got stopped at a checkpoint and they were like, out of the car, now. And we want your ID. So they took my ID, they wrote it down, they took me out of the car, they put me in the shade, they let me cool off for a minute, and then they took my temperature again and I passed and they said, we're sorry for the inconvenience, please proceed. So that was very interesting. It was a little weird. I wouldn't say that it was unpleasant or scary or anything. Like I recognize that it's important that they do these things. I also recognize that it's not 100% perfect, but it's better than nothing. They're doing their jobs. They don't want to be out there doing this any more than we want to be checked. So, everyone's being really polite. In the stores, we only went to, I didn't go to a grocery store or anything. I only went to like the factory type stores where we buy like really large industrial sheets of metal and like pipe for electricity to be run in the ground, like warehouses with little showrooms where you go in and you pay. So usually places like that don't have a lot of clients there at a time either. Like people usually order this stuff and have it delivered to their house or their farm or their business. Oh, I'm using another lemon yellow, chartreuse yellow now to create my glow. So in those places, even though there weren't a lot of people there, generally there were very few people on the streets. Everyone that I did see was wearing a mask. Literally every single person on the street was wearing a mask. And most of them were wearing them correctly. I was very pleasantly surprised that they were as close to correctly as possible. Like people actually have the thing around their nose done properly with the seal, and they have the straps either around their ears or on the back of their head. There were a lot of homemade masks that I saw that also looked legit, like something that I saw in the video that Lori posted in the channel. So people are doing their part. And then in the stores, you are required to keep a 1 meter separation. There's signs everywhere. Some of the showrooms, only one person, only one client is allowed to enter at a time. And there's like this museum type divider between you and the cashier or the counter, so that you have another meter of space between you and the counter is also plexiglass. So you have your cashier behind plexiglass in a mask, in gloves, with hand sanitizer. You have a meter of space between you two. No one can hear or recognize each other, so we have to use a lot of gestures and speak very loudly. And like I had to reach all the way to swipe my card and pay. It was kind of hilarious. But I was also pleasantly surprised at how positive everyone was. Like every place that we went, people didn't seem stressed. They just seemed really, really professional. Like the girl at the counter, the dude who actually brought out our materials, like everyone was completely on top of their game. And people here are actually not that polite most of the time. Like you go to a store and like there's not really, we're not known for client service in Chile. And all of a sudden things are different. Like all of a sudden everyone is really polite and really professional. I found that very interesting. And another thing that made me laugh was one of the places that I went, they actually know me and Adrian really well because we come there all the time to buy the electrical store, the place with the cable. They know us very well. We always come in, and the second we come in, they're like, oh, hello, 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 hello. But this time I was wearing, again, if you saw the Instagram photo, you'll know what I'm talking about. I was wearing my aviators, my mask that covered almost my entire face, the rest of which was hidden by my glasses, and a hat over it. So you couldn't see the color of my hair, you couldn't see my eyes, you couldn't see my face. Like, there was nothing that actually indicated that this was me. But I don't think that way, you know, like you walk into the store, you don't really remember what you're wearing. You just walk in as yourself. So I walk in and I see people who should recognize me, but they don't. So I'm like a ghost all of a sudden. They're just like, oh, hello, lady. Like they've never seen me before in their life. And then they recognized me and started like squealing and jumping up and down and pretending like they're hugging me from a distance because they recognized my tattoos. I was wearing a short sleeve t-shirt, and all of my arm tattoos were visible. So it took them a minute or two to figure it out. But then they were like, we know who you are. You have blue hair under that hat. Welcome back. And so I thought that was really cute. And it's like one of those moments where you're glad you have tattoos because it's like more obvious than my face all of a sudden. But seriously, not having facial expressions all of a sudden is an interesting side effect that I wasn't prepared for. Like, we smile a lot, especially, when doing business, when buying something in a place like a showroom. Like, you walk up to pay for your items and the first thing you do is you smile, or like you recognize the store owner. You're like, oh, it's you, Dawn so-and-so, you smile. Or especially if they're busy or if there's distance between you, you don't verbally say hello, you can just smile and it's obvious what your emotion is. But now I'm smiling and I'm doing all the same gestures or the same expressions as usual, but no one can see them. So it's like really weird. But people are dealing with it well. And the moral of the story is I am very pleasantly surprised at Chile and how well they're handling this situation and how well they're responding to it. Very pleasantly surprised.
Chile's doing a good job of responding to it, but not all of the people are handling it well.
That's true. That's true.
My addition to that story is something that I read on the news where we're going into, I guess it's Easter weekend, and in Chile, hang on a sec. Excuse me, I need to turn the volume down when I clear my throat. Chile is Catholic country, and so they take this stuff all very seriously, and so they call it Semana Santa, which is like the week of the saints, or Saints Week or something.
A Holy Week.
It's a Holy Week, yeah.
Holy Week.
And it's a big deal for them. They travel, they go see their families, they do a bunch of stuff. And there are large portions of Santiago right now, the capital city in Chile, that are under quarantine. And if you live in there, you can't leave without a specific permit that authorizes you to travel for a specific destination, reason. You have to get it from the police station. If you don't have that, the military is at the checkpoints. Like, they're not screwing around. These are areas that are hotspots in Santiago, and they're keeping everybody inside. And it came to the attention of some people in the government that well-off people in these neighborhoods were making arrangements to be airlifted out by helicopter to go to their second homes so that they could have their Holy Week with their friends and families.
How crazy is that? And Santiago is super well equipped for helicopters because of all the seismic activity here. A city that has tall buildings, I wouldn't say skyscrapers, but really tall buildings, needs to have an ability to evacuate via helicopters, because if everyone's trapped in a skyscraper, that's the only way to get emergency service to them if the road service is not working. So pretty much every tall building has a helipad on it.
So not everybody's doing that well. Cynthia would like to know, what color are you using on the lantern?
Right now, I'm back to my red. My main red that I'm using for this whole thing, this is permanent red. And does it look permanent? It's permanent. All these other colors are going to fade, but the red will stay. So I hope you guys are starting to see a pattern here with what I'm doing. Regardless of the color that I'm using, the pattern is I am picking my brighter version of that color, the more saturated version of that color, and adding it to the edges. So in case of orange, my brightest orange is all around the edges, and I'm leaving the center kind of glowing by not adding that much color. Same thing with green. This is a very pale green, so I don't want super strong contrast here. Again, this is paper, so it's mostly translucent. So we don't have that much of a color gradient. But with red, we get a stronger gradient just because of the nature of the color. With the red lanterns, the light shines through it and it looks quite orange. So with red, again, more red at the edges, no red at all in the center, and then fill it in with orange and yellow, more yellow to the center. I wouldn't leave any white here at all. I would just color everything with my colors, just because we're dealing with paper lanterns. They don't cast white light. They cast very diffused, colorful light. Mostly yellow, regardless of the color of the paper. The glow itself will be mostly yellow. So you may ask why we did all this work with white charcoal if we're coloring it all with pencils, and that's for the purity of saturation. Because the paper is toned, a lot of the colors will get slightly distorted when applied over the paper. And with darker colors, that's a plus. We want them to be a little bit more muffled, a little bit more diffused, a little bit darker. But with lighter colors and with colors that we want to be purely saturated, like these lights, we don't want the background, the paper color, to mess with our actual desired color. So we whitewashed it so that we can add the pure colors on top of it. And you don't have to use white charcoal for that effect either. You can use white acrylic paint, for instance, to prime all the areas that you want to be pure in color at the end. I like to use white charcoal because I just find it very pleasant. I think it doesn't interfere with the texture of the paper. The acrylic paint will also become a little bit glossy. And depending on what kind of paint you use and how much of it you use, you will essentially be coloring over paint, not over paper anymore. Whereas with white charcoal, especially if you use a Q-tip to rub it into the paper, then you are essentially changing that portion of the page to being a white page, and then you can color over it freely. And that's why I like that effect so much.
Diane wants clarification if it's permanent red or crimson red.
Does it matter?
And Caitlin says,
what have I been preaching to you this whole hour? It is permanent red,
okay.
But it honestly, I can't stress this enough, does not matter.
And Caitlin says she's surprised that when you went out, you didn't put a Harley Quinn half smile on your mask.
I was thinking about it. I really wanted to do that, but it was a last minute decision. Not even a decision, but like an announcement. We all have to go now. So I just grabbed the mask that I had and put on some shoes and grabbed my hand sanitizer, and out the door I went.
What lantern did you color before this one?
I did the orange one.
What color orange were you using?
I did my totally insane neon orange and this sunburst yellow. Yes. And before that, we did green. Okay. And I think originally I was planning to do blue as well. So blue, green, yellow, and red. But I think blue will look a little weird because our main colors here are red, orange, and yellow. And I think blue will take away, like adding bright blue ones in here will take away from all the colors that we have happening here. So I think I will keep this line of lights just with these three colors, green, orange, and red. But I do dare you guys to experiment. Make some different colors on these lanterns. Try a purple one. That's always a good choice. So yes, that's your homework assignment for this weekend. I want to see some purple lanterns without my demo. Just try to follow this basic principle of adding more brighter color to the edges and leaving the center a little bit lighter. And then because these are paper lanterns, I'm using yellow for the glow all over. Like everyone's glow is yellow. So even the red lanterns have yellow glow. The green lanterns have yellow glow. The yellow lanterns have yellow glow. Everyone has yellow glow. So that's a pretty easy tip for the lantern. So try out different colors. Try these ones that I taught you tonight, and I want to see some purple ones and some blue ones. So that's your assignment. Now I have questions for you. What would you like me to do? We have options. We love options. I can finish this page this weekend and film it for you, and we can move through what I did faster and just go over the step-by-step technique on the puppy dog and the rest of the lanterns. Or I can put it all on hold. I can put most of it on hold. I can't promise that I won't color the rest of the lanterns tonight. I might just stay up and do that. But mainly the dog. Let me know what you want me to do with the dog. Finish it tonight and film it, or finish it this weekend and film it, or leave it for Monday and we'll color him together. The reason that I'm asking is because next week we have a whole new program that I'm really excited to get started with. However, I don't want to rush this either because it's our project. We're doing this together. So please let me know in the live chat right now while I continue to talk. That should give you a few minutes to put some thoughts in there on how you want to proceed. If we were to do the dog together, I think we would only need one episode. So Monday we would do the dog together and then just color and finish this page completely. And then starting from Tuesday, move on to other things. And for other things, we have, can you please bring me back to this? For the other things, we have the Patronus project for the kids' illustrations. The patrons have spoken, and they said that the Patronus that we'll be coloring will be a fox. So one of these foxes. And I think we'll need at least one episode for that, probably two, because I have two ways of doing this to show you. One that's more elaborate that you can do, and another one that's faster and simpler and more readily available for you to do with your kids, like something that they can do within just a few minutes and be like, oh my God, Patronus. And then, so probably, to be safe, 2 lessons on that. And then we are switching to crystals. I drew a brand new crystal page for you because the crystal cluster tutorial is apparently still really popular and everyone's watching it, and I'm getting a lot of questions on it and a lot of comments on it, but not a lot of colorings. This page is a free page in our YouTube pages album, and a lot of people are quite intimidated to get it started. So even though the episode is very popular, very few people are actually giving something like this a shot because it is intimidating and overwhelming, and the episode on this is only 10 minutes long. So it's fun, but I think it will be more productive for us to color something like this together as a color along. So we'll be starting that, and we actually have a crystals special guest who will be on our show. Apparently, Jo Beth is somewhat of an expert on crystals, so she's agreed to join us on the show.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So probably, she said any day but Tuesday. So probably towards the end of the week, maybe on Thursday, we'll get to crystals and we'll have Jo Beth on the show to tell us about the magic and the healing powers of crystals and all that stuff. So because we have so much new stuff to jump to, has anyone said anything about the puppy dog?
7 for finish and film, 2 for puppy dog.
Finish and film wins. All right. So I will finish and film it, and I will make a small flick for you guys that we can go over on Monday, and then onwards and forwards. And of course, I'll keep you updated on Facebook all through the weekend as well. So you don't have to wait until Monday to see my finished piece. So goodbye and farewell? Or is there anything else that I need to address from the chat?
So long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, goodbye. That's all I got for you.
Oh, shit. I was just getting into it. I mean, a Shih Tzu. This puppy is a Shih Tzu.
Poodle poop.
Poodle poop.
Poodle poop.
Schnauzer.
The girl from the Born Identity, the Run Lola Run.
Right.
Would be proud.
Schnauzer. So thank you guys so much for another amazing week. We had a blast, didn't we?
Other than tonight, where I'm having, I'm like trying to maintain not coughing. Yes, this was really tons of fun. Thank you so much for allowing us to do this. It was such a fun week, and we got a lot more views on the videos, a lot more people participating in the coloring this week. Just everything started going up, so thank you guys for that as well. The paintings, I keep calling them paintings because the work you guys are submitting is just proper art. I am so proud and so impressed to see the colorings that you're posting. Keep up the good work. Keep coloring. Color at your speed, at your pace, at your pleasure. This is stress relief coloring. It's for you. It's for you to feel better. It's for you to light up these lanterns and just enjoy them. So please keep up the good work, and we'll see you on Monday. Don't lick puppies. No, lick puppies. Don't lick lanterns and light bulbs and other things that shine with brightness. Don't lick the sun.
Good advice.